Welcome to this how-to video. We're going to walk through how you set up device compliance zero trust policies. With the Citrix platform, you have the ability to apply these zero trust device policies at 3 different levels. You have pre-authentication policies, which is going to validate the device posture before you see the login screen. You're going to have app authorization policies that will take your information and determine which applications you have access to based on your device compliance. And then you have in-session policies, which will continuously monitor the status of your endpoint device and adjust settings within your session automatically. To begin, we're going to start with pre-authentication policies. Within the Citrix platform, in the device posture section, we have to enable this service for our environment. With that enabled, we select the settings and determine what is the default response if no policy is applicable to the current context of the device. In this example, we're going to do denied access. With these settings defined, we can go ahead and create a new device policy. We're going to select the platform, which will be Windows, and the rule. Here we're looking at the Workspace App version. If it's going to be greater than or equal to a certain version number, we want to make the result of this policy be compliant. So your endpoint device is compliant. We go ahead and give it a name and then give it a priority between 1 and 100. With the policy created, we can go ahead and examine the impact that this has on the endpoint device. So we have 2 endpoint devices here, one's compliant and one's not compliant based on the Workspace App version. And what you can see is the non-compliant version is going to get a access denied response, while the compliant version will get the login screen. With the pre-authentication policy defined, we can now move on to app authorization, which will determine which applications a user can see if their endpoint device is not in compliance. In this example, we want to modify the default behavior that we just set, which was denied. We want to make this non-compliant. So this will allow us to filter the applications that users see instead of just outright denying them access. We can now move into the Citrix DAS console, and we're going to adjust the access policy settings for our delivery groups. So we will have one delivery group in this example, which will be for compliant endpoint devices, and we're going to go ahead and modify the access policy to give it a connection that's going to meet the following criteria. The filter will be Workspace, and the value will be compliant. So this information will be coming from the device posture service that we just configured. We will now do something very similar for the non-compliant delivery group that we have. Go into Access Policies, modify the connection, and this time we're going to set a filter of Workspace and a value of non-compliant. What will happen now is when the users log in, if their device is not compliant, they will only get the resources from the non-compliant delivery group, and the compliant endpoint will get the resources from the compliant group. In this case, non-compliant can go ahead and log in, whereas before we denied them access. And once they log in, what you're going to see is compliant has a list of applications, non-compliant just has a published desktop. The final aspect is to set in-session policies, which will continuously monitor the device posture and adjust the session as needed. In this example, we're going to go ahead and use the Device Trust Console, and we're going to create a brand new policy. To make this easier, we're going to go ahead and use a template that is going to provide us the building blocks we need to create this. And there is a template for Citrix Workspace App, so we'll go ahead and import that and then select the Context tab at the top. So within this context, we can go ahead and set the version that we're looking for. And this will determine whether the endpoint is in compliance or not. So it has to be greater than or equal to this version number. Now, if it's not compliant and it's outdated, what we want to do is create an action. This action is going to inform the user that their endpoint device is out of compliance, that their Workspace App version is outdated. So we'll go ahead and add a new trigger. This will be the context. We're going to select the context from the Workspace App version that we just created. We're going to set it as equal to outdated. We can then create a new task which is going to do a pop-up message. So in this case, what we want to do is provide a message to the end user when they log into a published resource that their Citrix Workspace app version is outdated and they need to update this in the future. They still will have access, but we need to warn them and inform them that they need to do this when they have a moment. We're going to go ahead and save this policy in the local directory to keep this example simple. Now we go ahead and test, and what's going to happen is the non-compliant endpoint, when they connect to their virtual desktop, they should see a warning message informing them that their Workspace app version is outdated, while the non-compliant endpoint will not see the message because their Workspace app version is in compliance. So that is how we take pre-authentication, app enumeration, and in-session monitoring, how we take these three types of zero trust policies to create an end-to-end device trust protection for our environment. Now, these policies can incorporate over 300 different data points, and as you saw, it provides dynamic responses and allows users to take immediate action to correct any policy violations they might have. To find out more, visit us at citrix.com.